It's the Underpowered Hour on this week's show. Steve and Ike are joined by Jenna and Liza to talk about the updates to the 2025 Defender, their trip to Hyperfest, and their newfound love for Power Wheels racing. And now, without delay, here's the show.
Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Beres, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm the canvas top to Steven's panoramic sunroof. I'm the flapping roof of podcasting, Ike Goss. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike and Liza and Jenna. It's a special recap episode of your recent trip to Hyperfest, which is not an event I necessarily knew a lot about before you guys headed out there. But
us either. We didn't either, yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. We're going to get the full download. But first, in the news, a long-awaited refresh of the Land Rover Defender, the all-new Land Rover Defender. And thank goodness, man, have they finally fixed some of the major issues I think that most people have with the current Defender. For instance, the screen is bigger. I believe the previous screen was like 12.9 inches. The new screen, 13.1 inches.
That is vastly improved.
Humongous improvement.
Because my little fat fingers just kept hitting the wrong button.
The fog lights are now standard.
Mandatory, some would say.
Some would say, yeah. New signature details are now present throughout the vehicle. Brand new ones. I mean, I don't exactly know what that means. I think the grill got like a little bar on it, is what it looks like.
There's like a different texture to the tread plate, I think, on the bonnet.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's now it runs counterclockwise instead of clockwise, which is it actually looks like a bath mat. You know what I mean? Like they've gone away from the faux checker plate and they've gone towards like grandma's anti-slip mat. Is what it looks like now on the
stuff that you put in the bottom of the bathtub.
Like the flowers, the sticky flowers.
And it's got the suction cups on the other side. And when you take it off, it's like, like it's got like one of those. It feels like they put those on either side so that you don't slip when it's wet, I guess. Don't stand on that, by the way. It's like, it's hard plastic and will break immediately.
Do you think Professor McGovern was inspired during bath time?
Dr. Professor Monsignor Esquire Jerry McGovern? Possibly, yes. I mean, I think that, there seems to be a few features here that may have been inspired by Jerry's bath time. And yeah, I like them, also the side, whatever you want to call those vents that aren't really vents, sort of a thing. Actually, they are intakes. The left side and right side ones are intakes. They're functional. They now also have the bath mat grid pattern. So you can, maybe it's like Crocs. Maybe we should start making some little totems that you can stick in that panel.
Tiny Ikes. We need tiny Ikes.
Could put a tiny Ike in there.
I don't know if this is a good idea.
I love it. Just like Crocs, you can have all your favorite Star Wars characters. You can have, you can have whatever you want. You just throw it in there. You snap it into the little side grills.
Talk to us about the other improvements or the other updates, I should say.
Well, there's not a lot of other ones, but there's some new glossy bits that were previously flat.
Will
and some
any
flat
of these
bits
improvements will any of these improvements improve my gas mileage?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact,
will they make my car perform better off-road?
Oh, I would possibly think that they'll make it perform worse, except for one exciting feature. And that, of course, is an evolution of the all-terrain progress control, which is essentially off-road cruise control. So you can now just you just tell the Defender, like, go off-road, and you just hit the button, and you just sit back and relax, have a mojito, whatever.
Have you guys seen this video that's cropped up recently where the person is driving a Defender on the coast, and they're very impressed with its off-road capabilities? So they get to a port where like a river is going into the ocean, and they decide to just like try to drive across the river/ocean, the mouth of the river. And they sink it in the ocean. Yeah.
They didn't get out and check first with a stick to see how deep it was?
No, they're just cruising along, and they're like, oh, man, this is great. We're rusting our car really quickly in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they just drive it right into the ocean. I'll have to forward that to you. It's pretty classic. And then they get their drone out, and they video the Defender from above, and it's like the water is like halfway up the door glass. It's pretty deep.
No.
Yeah, that's a bit too deep. Yeah.
Pretty deep.
Too deep. It's
Look like they're having a great time. They need a mode for that.
Yeah, they do need a mode for
Just
that.
little inflatey like buoys that pop out.
Yeah, and just turn your Defender into a boat in the long-standing Land Rover tradition of turning your Land Rover into a boat.
I mean, if you just had like the pull cord on like an emergency
Or
raft,
maybe-
right?
Maybe, hear me out, maybe there's a mode where it's like a dipshit mode. It just tells you when to turn around. Just like it just tells you.
Abort.
A little warning comes up. It just says, don't do
the
this.
off-road progress control just jerks the wheel to the right
Yeah.
and sends you back
And
home.
says, we have exceeded the abilities of this driver. Do not proceed. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Just like scans your face and it decides how dumb you are.
What if?
Poor Linus. How would he ever drive a new? Oh,
Here, friendly fire.
So is this
sorry, Linus.
is this the Series 3 of Defender updates? Is this just like marginal?
It's marginal at best, yeah. This is maybe more of a Series 2 to a Series 2A kind of a thing. Like, unless you're an expert in the field, it may be difficult to be able to articulate
I
that.
know there's some pretty big ones 2 to 2A. You've got the nubs for the vent lifters and the horn button and like
The biggest one.
I rest my case.
No, the biggest one is the introduction of the 2 1/4 diesel. That's the
Yeah.
2 to 2A difference, right?
Well, this is introducing a new 22-inch 7-spoke wheel.
What?
In Land
Jesus,
Rover's in Land Rover's quest to have
But Jenna, tell
100
me how you
spokes
actually feel.
in an alloy wheel.
The one,
going-
it's going to be single
I think
spokes.
they should have gone 24 inches.
Yeah, why
24
not?
inches.
Why not? With
So-
a half an inch of
24
tire.
inches with a quarter
Yeah.
inch of tire.
There's just you don't even need air anymore. You just make it like a hard rubber tire on
How
that
many-
big old wheel.
How many tires are available for that size rim?
I can't imagine any. As is,
Just get the
Land
wheel.
Rovers, They love
Just the
they
wheel.
love they
You just
love to make wheels.
plasti
that have
dip it.
tires. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's a great idea. It's like a roll of duct tape with just a few pieces left on it. Just a very small amount around the outside. That's all you need though, really. Yeah, in their quest to have either all the spokes or no spokes at all. I'm not sure which direction this is on the journey, but regardless, it's the wrong direction. So I know how you're particular about your wheels. So this is, they're looking out for you. Also a new color, which is like kind of blue. So
Kinda blue. Is that the
Yeah.
official name of it?
it is. It's officially called
Kinda blue.
McGovern Ascot Blue,
Just-
I believe.
It's kind of blue, a little sad.
It is. It looks a little sad, honestly.
I like
It's
blue
like
on the
a
Defender,
flat.
though.
Yeah, it's like a flat blue color. Actually, I really like it. And now the signature panel, which I know is everyone's favorite part of the Defender, is also that same body color. So it's also a blue.
So I have a really unpopular opinion about the signature panel. I know that on this show we really love to make fun of it, and
Yeah,
and,
because
and I
it's
get
dumb.
that. I respect it. I don't know what it says about me though that this far in now, 5 years into the Defender, I actually have grown to not hate it.
Well, that's why
kind of-
we are releasing signature panels for series vehicles.
Now, follow-up question. Can you describe what you like about it?
I didn't say I like it. Let's be really, really. I said I don't hate it anymore.
Okay.
I don't know if I've just become so accustomed to seeing it on Defenders in the wild that, like, I've lost the ability to imagine what a Defender would look like without it, or spice rack or something.
Are you just tired of hating it? It is optional. You can get the Defender, I think.
It is optional to hate it. You're right. You can opt
90.
out of hating
the
it.
90 you can opt out, but the other two you are committed to the
morally
signature
obligated
panel.
Yeah.
And I apologize. It's always in body color. You can now get it black, which makes it.
I think you've been able to do that for a while.
There. Well, now you can do it on the 110 and the 130, which is a new feature where you can get rid of the stupid thing. Yeah, but I'm just reading what it says on the thing here. And then finally, and this actually is new. This is great news because this is news that affects me. The Octa, not first edition, just the regular Octa, is in fact now available with the release of this model year.
Wow.
So you'll be able to go and buy a slightly less expensive by about 10 grand. So not like fabulously less expensive, but it doesn't have the crushed carbon fiber bits. It doesn't have all of the spooky first edition stuff all over it. It is just everybody's favorite rally car. And it's available in the bluish color, but frozen bluish, which is really, really neat. It actually looks really cool.
It has a little Elsa decal on the back.
It does. Yeah, it does. And it does. And it has
the custom license plate that says "Let it go."
Let it go. So, so that's good news because there was like not a rumor. It's a rumor that I started that maybe because of the tariffs and everything else that the first edition Octa may be the only edition Octa they ever made, and that would be it. But I did say that. But in fact, thank goodness they will be making the standard edition Octa a little bit cheaper, and I want one real bad.
That prediction didn't come true?
It didn't.
It looks like they have a driver-facing attention monitor camera helps monitor alertness now.
Oh, that's great.
That's Jenna's favorite thing when the car starts giving her warnings and alerts that she can't figure out how it knows or what it's telling her.
And they cover the entire windshield. Like that thing that we had last year in the 130, like there's all this like information that's like projected up on the windshield while you're off-road.
Display.
Well, in like the off-road mode, like there's too much information up there.
So I had never seen what gets displayed on the heads-up display in off-road mode, and we were in, I don't know, mud and ruts or something.
And I kept complaining about it.
And Jenna's complaining about it, and she keeps saying about like I think it's showing her like the wheel orientation and
so much lines. There's lines everywhere. Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell her, like, what it is that she's looking at, not actually knowing what it is that it is displaying. And it's like we're speaking two different languages for a few minutes before we finally both agreed, okay, I'm going to stop telling you what you can see, and you're going to stop complaining about it, and we'll figure it out the next time we stop.
So it monitors your alertness. Does it? It just decides, like, that your eyes are closing, or what is it?
Or that you're looking
You're not paying any attention?
Mm-hmm.
If it's anything like Steven's truck, then yes. But like my car sort of has that, and it always tells Steven that he's falling asleep when he drives my car.
Yeah,
maybe you just have like thin eye openings, or
I have a sleepy resting face.
maybe your pupils are pointed in different directions.
After the head injury, they don't quite look straight anymore.
Hey, I don't know how it decides, so I'm curious.
No, I don't know either. But anyways, well, there you
should get some of those glasses with the eyes on them to fool it.
The funny thing is when my truck is in the like auto drive mode and it says, you got to look at the road. Okay. I'm looking at the road, and the way to get it to stop saying that is to look away from the road. You have to like look down at the floor and then look back, and it's like, oh, I see, you were looking at the road. But in order to like get it to stop bothering you, you have to take your attention away from the road. So flawless system. Works perfectly. Yep.
Well, I'm excited that the new edition of the Defender has it.
Speaking of flawless systems, so you, Jenna and Liza, were out on the East Coast with all of our favorite East Coasters at something called Hyperfest. There you go.
Oh my God, for the listeners at home, if you're not watching the video version, Jenna just took a long time, made a lot of noise, scribbling on 2 pieces of Post-its to make eyeballs and sticking them to her glasses to call back to Steven's joke about the eyeball glasses. Oh, this is why I love you guys.
I love it. Perfect timing. So
I'm sorry. What were you saying? Yes, we just got back from
Hyperfest? Something
Virginia.
about Hyperfest?
So-
I don't know.
So tell us about Hyperfest. My impression, and dissuade me of this if I'm wrong. This is like all things automotive. This is like burnouts. This is like drifting. This is like drag. Is there drag racing there? Drag racing?
Not drag racing.
Okay.
That's one of the
I
few
think
things.
maybe, yeah, it's like the only thing that's
But there's also
there.
off-roading. There's also, is there monster trucks?
Oh, monster.
Sort of. Not like conventional monster trucks, but there is like a monster Volkswagen Bug that was jumping cars.
Okay. Well, I think that counts.
It was
That
just
counts.
one. It wasn't like the big, dinosaur monster truck kind of thing, but
Was there anyone drinking Monster Energy?
Monster was definitely a sponsor in some places around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like an event like that is fueled by Monster Energy.
So this is not maybe the traditional Land Rover crowd or Land Rover event. How does that fit in? How does that fit in?
So we were with Sarek. Ralph Sarek, of course, has been on the show, and we're driving his Defender 90 this year in the Rebel Rally.
The
for anybody who hasn't-
Triceratops?
The Triceratops, for anybody who hasn't heard those episodes. And Ralph invited us to go out and be part of this event. And it takes place at the Virginia International Speedway, which is really close to the border with North Carolina. And so we flew into Richmond, and I spent a day at Sarek Auto Work with the crew. And then we packed up and we drove down to Hyperfest and set up. And we were living in luxury in Ralph's Airstream for the weekend. And Ralph has been going to this event for a long time now. He's kind of one of the original sponsors. And all of the off-road events that take place during the weekend are led by two different companies, Sarek being the primary one, and then Chaos. They were at the booth next to us.
That sounds like very different methodologies.
Yeah,
to
Yeah, definitely different vibes. Different vibes.
Very different
Other
vibes.
courses are led by chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah, and so there's so much going on at Hyperfest, and there are so many people, and it's a totally different vibe than your typical Land Rover event. But man, did we ever have a ton of fun. And we got to do ride-alongs on the off-road course. It was Jenna driving along and me sitting in the back seat like, hey, can we tell you about the Rebel Rally? Would you like to know more about our off-roading adventures? But no, it was super, super fun. And most people that we had in the car with us had never been off-road before. They come to Hyperfest every year, and they've done the drifting and they've done all sorts of other stuff. And they were like, yeah, we wanted to try the off-road course this year.
Yeah, it was really interesting. We had a guy, we had people riding with us that are very deep in one of the other motorsports at this place, but not off-roading. So
What was the reaction from those people? Were they like, I'm going to get a Land Rover and do this, or what?
one of them was like, had been thinking about getting more into like dirt racing. He was into drifting. Like he had a car here. He was competing in the drifting. Like he was really into that, right? But he'd really just not spent any time off-road and was kind of intrigued. He was off-road curious, let's say. And so, yeah, he rode along with us. And it was funny because you would expect that, he's been out whatever jeeping or whatever before. And it just really seemed like he had it. And it was pretty cool to share that like new experience with him. He was definitely like grabbing the handles a little bit, but then also like trying to video as he was riding along, video the crazy stuff we were doing, but then like grabbing again, it was awesome.
Yeah. It was really muddy. They had the course had been, really washed out before we got there. They got tons of rain the week before we got there.
So like a tropical storm or something?
It was
Yeah.
It was a
There were
lot of
tornadoes.
I was going to say, wasn't there actually like a major tornado in the area?
In fact, the day that the tornadoes came through Virginia, it was towards the end of the day, and we were going to head over to watch the drifting, I think. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the sky got super, super dark. We realized like, hey, we better break down our
Little pop-up
stand and our pop-up tent and everything like right now. So we start putting everything away and chucking stuff in the back of the trucks. to break down our booth, and Chaos was right next to us. They had a big, like, 18-wheeler with, this huge awning coming off of it. They had set up, like, a whole tiki lounge for people to be able to, like, come and have a place to sit and get out of the sun during the event, right? And this was, like, their hospitality area for people. And all of a sudden, this, like, down cell wind thing comes down and literally just peels back the awning and the roof off of this 18-wheeler thing that they had, and just like tried to take the entire setup with it.
Yeah.
And
not just the fabric either, like metal, like
metal
aluminum
beams.
bracing and 3-inch diameter tubes. And I mean, they were all just bent.
Looked pretty dangerous in the video that you sent,
It was super scary.
dangerous.
The first thing we did was run over and make sure nobody got hurt, for one thing.
No
and
one
they had
was
a
dead.
ground tarp. They had this massive ground tarp.
It was a billboard. It was like an old billboard vinyl.
Yeah, and they had not staked it down enough, evidently, because like the whole thing just started peeling back and burying people underneath it. It got real dicey for a minute. So we ended up spending a solid like hour and a half, 2 hours helping them break everything down and load everything back into their truck. And they never rebuilt their booth after that because it just got so damaged.
When the villain knocks out the center pole of the circus tent and everybody is trapped underneath.
That's exactly the energy that it felt like.
It sounds like chaos.
Yeah, it was.
It totally was.
Yeah,
It was. And then the guy who owns Chaos at one point, as we're like, breaking down poles and signs and flags and all this stuff, comes out of the trailer and he's holding a couple of oatmeal cookies. And he's like, "You want a cookie?" And I went,
"Yeah,
I'll take a cookie." And so there he and I stood watching the chaos, just eating an oatmeal cookie together. All right.
Well, there you go. And besides the chaos of the weather and the drifting and everything else, there was also what is, I think, an event unique to Hyperfest, a special kind of racing that you two were both involved in. Let's talk a little bit about that.
It was the stupidest thing we've ever done, and it was the best
I don't believe that.
night.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second, but it certainly sounds pretty stupid. So what's the premise of this particular type of racing?
All right. So first, you get a crappy old Power Wheels. The crappier, the better, right? And you got to take out the motor, and you got to take out the battery.
Where did you source this? Did you steal it from a child?
Facebook Marketplace, obviously.
Okay.
So yes.
And Ralph and his team got a couple of Power Wheels for us. And when we were back at his shop in Richmond, we took the Power Wheels apart, took all the motors out. Surprisingly, for people who they work on very, very complicated modern vehicles all the time, the Power Wheels was significantly harder to take apart than you might think. So anyways, we take it all apart. We load it up into Ralph's truck, and on the way down to Richmond, we sort of merge onto the main highway that we're going to be on for most of the journey. And we get up to speed, and I'm following Ralph, and he's got his Tacoma pickup truck with our Power Wheels in the back. And right before we left, he thought, I wonder if I should strap those down. And he didn't.
No,
we had a John Deere style tractor with a trailer. And all of a sudden, as we're driving along, we take a right-hand turn, and that tractor trailer thing for the John Deere goes flying out of the car and onto the freeway behind us.
Perfect.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They could have killed a
it's
motorcyclist.
It's okay, because I think if we had it at Hyperfest, we might have done something really stupid, like had me ride in the back of it and do the downhill Power Wheels challenge in tandem, and that definitely would have gotten one of us killed. So maybe it's for the best.
I was told that was going to be the...
That would have been amazing. We would have gotten the primo spotlight on the event, though, if we had,
If someone died, it would have been in the news.
We would have been the only tandem team. I think we could still aspire for this if we go back, but maybe with the practice, we should practice.
Maybe. So anyways, so you take your Power Wheels. There were 150 competitors this year. Whoa. They did 3 heats of 40 to 50 drivers in each one. I think, that was what they had registered. I think in reality,
that's a pretty significant participation for a Power Wheels race.
It was crazy.
Were there a lot of spectators?
Oh, yeah. whole bleachers,
Yes.
people standing all around.
Can you estimate the number of people who are watching this?
I don't know, a lot.
Oh.
500 people?
Ooh.
More
I was gonna
or
say
less people
more.
than have seen the new Mission Impossible film.
I don't know how to quantify that. So more.
Okay.
Anyhow, yeah, no, it was totally nuts. And so Jenna gets put in the first heat,
Yeah.
and she's on the green John Deere, and I am watching her for tips. And
Right, okay.
I'm like trying to pay
Did you
attention.
get any
I'm
good
in heat
tips
too.
from
Probably don't hit the foam. That was my takeaway from round one.
There's a chicane made of foam that you have to try to drive around the chicane and get
see.
through
Yeah,
it. And
there's obstacles, and there's a Donkey Kong guy running
Donkey
around.
Kong chasing you down the track.
I see.
And
It was like a Mario
and
Kart
it's-
vibe.
Yeah,
Are they throwing
it
turtle
is
shells? And
100% Mario
banana
Kart.
peels.
That is exactly what it feels
All
like.
right.
yeah.
Okay.
So did you win?
No.
No,
Did
but
anybody did anybody win? Really? I mean,
Yeah, it's $100 if you want.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So Jenna's first run, you did
How much
really
did the Power
well.
Wheels
Other than
cost?
hitting the foam,
Curious.
you had no problems the rest
No,
of the time.
I didn't have any
Pretty
problem. I actually forgot. I didn't see the finish line, and I just kept going and going and going. And I was like, why did everybody spin out back there? And then I came to the ambulances and stuff at the end, and they're all just watching me, and I'm like, oh, huh?
So then I go and I'm in a bigger Power Wheels monster truck type thing.
By
and,
choice,
it
It was
or
kind of
just
like a
because-
Hummer or something.
Yeah,
it felt like a
yeah.
Hummer,
a
Naturally,
knockoff Hummer, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And I'm thinking I've got it good, right? And I go through the chicane by following somebody else. I stay right on somebody else so that they knock all of the foam out of the way. And I'm thinking
Right.
I'm doing
That's a
pretty
good-
good
that's a
until
good idea.
I get the death wobble.
Oh no.
And then my thing goes off the track and I get it back on the track and then I basically go over the finish line practically backwards. My whole car spins out and I go almost backwards across the finish line, and the cameraman thought that was pretty great, so I'm kind of hoping it makes it into the Hyperfest.
And it
highlight reel.
absolutely makes that sound in Mario Kart every time you spin out too. That
Yeah.
Because it's it's like plastic wheels sliding over the pavement, right?
yeah,
Exactly, yeah. And just like the comical, cartoon tears that come out of your eyes. But anyways, so then, if you did well, then you got to do the championship run down the hill, right? For everybody else, we got to do a Le Mans style start where you had to park your Power Wheels on the other side of the racetrack from you, and you had to stand over here, and then they said go, and we run across, and we have to weave and dodge through other people, grab our Power Wheels, get it on the course, and start going. And this was where we maybe realized that this was the stupidest thing we'd ever done.
This was the bonus round. This was the fun run at the end of the competition, where then it was just a complete free for all. It was insane.
And this was where moments before it happened, I thought, okay, we got through the first one unscathed. Why did we not quit while we're ahead? Now we have double the opportunity to separate our shoulder or something. This is going to be great.
But we only got to do one run down the hill, and I kind of wanted to do a second run down the hill, and this was the only do it.
Was anyone else injured in this process?
Yes.
Yes.
There was an
Somebody
ambulance situation.
I was gonna say.
Somebody
no.
broke their collarbone.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. No.
That's definitely not worth it. Now, there was recently an event in the UK that this reminds me of, and it's the Gloucester cheese race or whatever.
Rolling.
Yeah, they roll this
Oh,
cheese down a very steep hill, and then people chase after it on foot, but it's so steep that there's no possible way you can run down it. You just fall down it, and you sort of
fall down the
tumble
hill, yeah.
over head over
Right.
heels.
Yeah.
And the person that's the fastest wins the cheese, but
The fastest at falling
Right.
down the hill.
yeah.
I would say that if you were to add Monster Energy drink to that, it's the same vibe. It's the same energy.
I would say that's
Maybe
really
not as fast.
I mean, that's really similar to my second heat in this fun run, because I was chasing my shoe, I was chasing my car.
Oh
Wait,
yeah, you
wait,
got to talk
Jenna?
about
Oh my
her
God.
epic rear ending.
So we're both together, right? And we take off at the same time, and then I get behind her somehow, and all I see at one point is just like a regular John Deere. It gets rear-ended and it basically flips completely up, and she's on her back, and one shoe goes flying off of her foot. But the person who rear-ended her was, no joke, it was a full life-size Chewbacca, like a guy dressed as Chewbacca head to toe in a land speeder, who hits her from behind, knocks her on her back, her shoe goes flying. I'm like concerned. I'm not quite sure if I should get off my Power Wheels and go help her, or just try to, keep going. And then I see her, off to the side, and I have to keep going because it's absolute chaos.
Yeah. And
the whole thing was, we've done some dangerous things in our life, and that was definitely up there.
I did warn you, before you started. I had seen some Power Wheel racing, and generally I feel like there's a lot of alcohol involved. The ones that I had seen were like off-road courses,
we were
like
very
steep hills.
Sober.
Very sober.
We were very sober.
I'm sure the spectators were not at all.
Yeah.
Some of the other competitors weren't either, but there was no alcohol allowed on the course.
Right.
Oh, you had to do all your drinking ahead of time.
For
Perfect.
safety.
You had to pound it and crash that can and put it in your pocket. Yeah.
Wow. So here's the big question. Are you going back to Hyperfest? Is this something you would do again?
I would do it again. I don't know if we're scheduled to do it again next year necessarily, but I would definitely go back.
Well, it was fun, huh?
Yeah, it was tons of fun.
Now, were there manufacturers like selling their wares? There was Bilstein.
Tons of vendors.
Tons of vendors. So lots of vendors.
Tons and tons of vendors. Mostly, aftermarket parts and stuff like that. Lots of tires. I did not realize. Like, I sort of knew drifting. You must go through tires at a rapid rate, but the number of tires that some of those teams go through, and if you were buying the sponsor tires on site, I think I heard that you got them like cost while at the event. Okay. And they had people like mounting tires there on site that just like all they did all day long was.
So you just turn them and burn them. You put them on your car and then you burn them off.
They get like two goes, and then they have to go
2 or 3
and then they
laps around the track, and then they have to come off and go change their tires.
This whole place just smells like burnt rubber.
It's so much burnt rubber. Yeah, it's crazy.
The whole time. The whole time.
You just see it, like it's just
clouds
billowing.
Of tire smoke.
Yeah,
nice.
And then there's the burnout competition, which is even worse in terms of the.
Is it
rubber.
just a bunch of guys that have done too much drugs, like lined up against a wall?
This guy,
just vote on him?
He's the most.
That guy. Yeah. That guy's the biggest burnout right there.
The biggest burnout for sure. Look at that guy.
Look at that guy. Yeah. Well, it sounds like a whole ton of fun. I'm glad you guys got the opportunity to go.
Of course.
We were consummate professionals the entire time, except maybe when we were on our Power Wheels.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now I've also heard that our, very good friend of the show and of just us in general, none other than Mr. Bob Steele, was there as well.
He was.
So
he was. We had a great time, and I would just like to state that Bob joined us at the Club Hyperfest closing evening festivities and lived up to his reputation and showed us all how it's done with some pickle juice.
Yeah. How did Bob get away without being on a Power Wheel?
Oh, I'm pretty sure that his orthopedic surgeon said not with your knee replacement.
No,
it was.
Thank you.
You really had to origami your legs into that whole situation.
Yeah.
Like a Power Wheel is a lot smaller than you picture it being.
Yeah, and you have to decide like how are you going? Are you going to try to slow yourself down?
Yeah.
And if so, how would you like to do that? Would you like to dislocate a hip or would you like to break your knee? Because both are very, very likely.
I think you just tip the whole thing over on its side and break your collarbone.
I did a lot of drifting and a lot of like spinning backwards to try to turn.
Just meat crayon your face all the way down the track.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh yeah.
Slow yourself down.
Fantastic.
I just burned a hole in my shoes. I used my shoes to like rub friction against the wheels, and so I burned a big hole in my shoes.
I was wondering why there was a shoe order that showed up. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, very
Anyhow.
cool. Very cool. I didn't have any idea that was part of the Land Rover spectrum. There's a Venn diagram where like the drifting events and the Land Rover events are like completely separate, but
This
there's
is
some
a
overlap.
very slim overlap, but it was there. It
But it
existed, and
exists.
you know what?
Yeah,
We
it
had a ton of
exists, yeah.
fun.
I feel like this is popular in Australia. Like these sorts of burnout competitions, and people do soup up their Land Rovers and do the burnout competitions in Land Rovers. So maybe that's some inspiration for next year. You can take your rally truck out and do burnouts.
Do some drifting.
Yeah, that'd be pretty impressive. I think you would definitely get some converts and some support for if you did some burnouts.
Definitely got to turn off the tiny bacons for that one.
Yeah, and get a lot of tires.
A lot
So
of tires.
I guess we should also, circling back to the reason we were there, Sarek was like super supportive and amazing for this event. Like it was really cool to go get to spend time with Ralph and his crew from the workshop, and Kathleen, his wife, was there, and she made these awesome shirts for us at the very last. Sarek on the front and our team logo or team name on the back and Rebel. And it was so cool because like the whole crew was wearing these shirts at the event, and it felt really so supportive. It was really lovely.
It was,
Yeah.
and they were really happy to talk about us and promote us, and he had put big Rebel Rally competitor decals on the doors, and it was a really fun weekend to be out there and to be representing and to be partnering with our sponsor. It was super, super fun.
And we didn't actually talk about the fact that the truck we were driving in these ride-alongs is the truck we're driving in the Rebel this year. So it was great to get to spend more time with that vehicle. And it was certainly a terrain that we don't really encounter on the rally because it was mud
So
and
muddy.
wet mud. Not that we may not ever encounter it on the rally, but certainly we haven't in the past. So it was interesting to get to just use it
And
a
it
little
was fun.
differently.
Yeah.
Bob and Ralph have both been instrumental down there in like actually building that off-road track that they use at this event. And so, they had all sorts of really fun obstacles for us to climb and muddy pits for us to drive through. And there was one, big side slope. We got to, 32 degrees or something. And, the car was almost laying on its door as it's just like going sideways through this thing. And I think that one and this one up and over double bump hill thing that we did was the one that sort of got most people like grabbing onto the door handles. It was
great.
Getting really excited about it. So it was
And
really,
again,
really
it's
fun.
not your car, so very capable in that case. So yeah. Well, it sounds like it was an absolute ton of fun. It sounds like, what do you think? What's next up on the Rebel Rally, Friends and, Winning Hearts and Minds tour? Where are you guys off to next?
We're trying to figure that out. We're trying to figure out what our next stop is, what our next little training activity or adventure is going to be. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, our problem is that we have many to choose from, and we can only do so many, and so
Right.
the FOMO around the ones that you have to say no to is intense, and then just trying to find the balance and find the ones that yes, we want to go because we want to be with fun people and do fun things, but we also want to work on the skills that we need the most. So still figuring that out, trying to figure out if we're going to be able to get to some Colorado training in the summer, if we're going to head out to Overland Expo, trying to figure out if we're going to do a Sand Mountain trip or head to Utah with some friends, trying to just strike the right balance right now between having lots of fun, getting our trainings in, and, also living life and working jobs. And
Having real jobs.
Ooh, sounds like King of the Hammers is next.
Oh, jeez.
Exactly. Or at the very least, professional downhill
Monster
power
truck
racing.
driving?
Oh, yeah. Or that. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show and telling us all about it.
Of course.
If you're in the area, check out Hyperfest.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait till next year. Maybe I will field a Power Wheels. We'll see.
A burnout,
You guys
Power
will
Wheels burnout
definitely die.
competition.
Oh, Power Wheels burnout. I love it. Just tiny
guys will
plastic melty
definitely
wheels.
die.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Except you can't have a motor or a battery, so I don't know. You'll have to figure that out.
We'll figure it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we have plenty of time to get on that. Well, with that, it's a pleasure as always, and we look forward to your next adventure. And we'll be back here next week talking about, slightly larger dash displays and, whatever new bath mat features have been added to the new Defender. So until then, we'll see you next week.
See you on the trail.
Bye. Ciao.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.